Welcome to Secrets Worth Sharing, a series all about having approachable conversations on child sexual abuse, but with serious joy. I'm Sophia, a designer and a survivor, and today's episode is all about child sexual abuse and black men. So for that, I'm joined by my dear friend Davy. Hi.
Sophia. All right.
Hey.
Hey everyone, I'm Davy Lazar. I'm a writer, director, and filmmaker. I'm actually also filming this right now. And yeah, I'm just really excited to share my story today. Really grateful for the space to share my story. And yeah, let's get into it.
In this section, we're going to share some really practical and approachable advice about how you can have conversations on child sexual abuse, particularly as how it pertains to black men. So, Davy, let's get the don'ts out the way first. We typically go through a do and don't structure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what I would say is the first one, it sounds really simple, but it's so key. Don't be silent. You know, I think there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of hiding, there's a lot of disgust, let's be honest, right? That comes with this. And I think it's really important, to kind of put it out there in the open. And I think it's, especially the black community as well. I feel like at times, we have so much of a traumas and issues that we're sort of going through. And at times we think that the best way to deal with it is just to kind of put our head down and keep going, because that's what we're used to doing. As a black community, we're used to oppression, we're used to difficult things. And often the way we deal with it, because we don't trust the systems and the services that are out there for us, we put our head down and we stay quiet and we try and not bring shame or bad vibes to the family. But so for me, I think the main thing is to don't be silent. Do not be silent.
And how could that manifest in not being silent?
Yeah. So for me, it's just, starting by, it's going to be really uncomfortable, but just speaking about it openly. Whether, that's in a church meeting, whether that's, with family around, whether, that's a family gathering, you know what I mean? Getting it out there in spaces that is going to feel like we should just be silent. We shouldn't be airing our family's dirty laundry out, even friends of the family as well. I think as well, we're also, I think as black people, we're often quite kind of scared of making our family look bad to others, to the friends of the family, to our congregation in church. And I just think we have to do away with that, and just share it, and make it open and let people know, that you are a survivor and you need the support that they can give. And, let people know that you are a survivor and you need the support that they can give.
What about as well if someone hears gossip, about a situation of child sexual abuse, standing up and defending that as well, and then people know that you care about this cause and that you're somebody to be, support.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what's your don't.
So obviously I'm not black, so my don't is very more of an allyship don't.
Yeah.
But kind of similar actually. Do not assume that just what works for you or your community is something that's going to work for somebody else, and that is across the board. But I think particularly when talking about blackness, there's like you mentioned about how you might not want to tell your mum, for example, and sometimes a reaction someone might have is like, oh my God, how could you not want to do that? Of course the reaction is going to be X, Y, and Z, but actually you don't know that. You don't know the person's experience, you don't know the background, you don't know what's going on. All you can do is be there for them, ask why that might be the case, support them with coming up with options, but don't assume that what's worked elsewhere is going to work for this person.
Absolutely. And what's your do then?
I love how you're reversing the interview.
Yeah, there we go.
I love it.
The student is now the master.
Yeah, you've clocked it. So I have 3 do's, okay?
Love it.
If I may. So the 3 do's pertain to organisations, allies, and then black men themselves. So I'll do it in that order. Organisationally, do lobby organisations, your departments, your communities to have services specifically for black men. So for example, if you see a child sexual abuse charity and there's only a handful of them nationally as it is, write to them and be like, where is your support service for black men? What are you going to do? These situations look different, as we've heard, based on who you are. And so black men need a support group. If you know of a black community group, how could they have a support service for child sexual abuse survivors? And then similarly, culturally, in terms of research reports, there's not much research being done on black men, and we will link in the podcast to a couple that we know of that are out there, but lobbying them as well, because unfortunately, if institutions don't hear that this is an issue, they're not going to see it as an issue. They're not going to then provide support services to people who need it. So the first do is lobby support services to provide support for black men.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
Thank you. The second one pertaining to allyship is do make space to talk about race and gender in these conversations. Not talking about race, like, look, racism is hard. Like, it's not, you're adding another difficult topic onto an already extremely hard to talk about topic. But by not acknowledging the person's race or identity or gender, that doesn't mean it's going to go away. It just means that there's a whole part of themselves that you are forgetting when you're having this conversation. And then it's harder to acknowledge and deal with the abuse itself, right? I'll give you a very, very small example. So when I was at primary school, I grew up in Croydon. My primary school was very mixed in terms of like race and that. And when it was colouring in time, we had these kind of like pots of colouring pencils of skin colours, and they were called people colour. And there was this, there was a boy at school who was very, very dark skinned, and he could never find his pencil in that pot. And even as a 6-year-old child, I was thinking, oh, that kid's colour's not in the pot. Does that mean they're not a person? But I know that they're a person. And so imagine if you're the kid themselves, you're thinking, oh, I'm not human. You know, this kid was such a good kid as well. Like, he invited everyone to his house for his birthday. Even the little snotty kid that was getting bullied, like, everyone was invited. He was such a good boy. Like, he stood up against bullies. But he was always being branded as naughty. And then years later, he actually is now in jail for sexual crimes. And you kind of think there, what's gone wrong there? Like, there's been such a repression in terms of factoring in, talking about race, even from such a young age, that we were talking about that box earlier. It just felt like there was this box confining him.
It's been dehumanized.
Yeah, exactly. So as part of humanizing everybody and taking place and accepting someone as their wholeness, ask about race, ask about gender. And look, you might not get it right. Like, you know, I'm asking questions a lot to you, and there's things that I'm learning. So, you know, it might just be saying things like, how might that look different in a black context? Or you even said growing up in St. Martin's, you don't think about yourself as black. You know, there's how many layers there. So just make space for it as well, because the person is more than their abuse, but there's other factors affecting that as well. My final do is for black men themselves, more as a reminder. Do remember there are other black men who have gone through a similar experience to you, and you are not alone. Like Hardy Caprio, about a year ago, he's a rapper. He came out about this, saying that he'd gone through this experience. There's a journalist called Ben Hunt who did a BBC programme about black men and where are black men in child sexual abuse and why is that so hard. And of course, we have the wonderful Davy, who's so boldly and so beautifully shared the story with us today. So, you know, if you're out there and you're wondering what it might be like to talk, you have a mirror right here. And if we talk about these experiences and make them more prominent, we are able to heal from them. So I hope that, you know, Davy, you're a reminder to people that they are not alone.
Absolutely. And actually, one final reminder on that is, do remember that black men are not a monolith. As black men, we know what they expect of us, and we don't have to be that, you know. So I think it's really important to let go of all that baggage, all of that noise that says what a black man is supposed to be. And for me especially, you know, I've had to, you know, really work to kind of overcome the shame and the feeling of feeling less. I feel like I'm less. I feel like if I say this to another man, especially a black man, that makes me less than him. That means I'm a few tiers down because I've been abused. And obviously that's nonsense, you know, that's completely wrong. And anyone that thinks that should not be in your circle, should not be anywhere near your circle. So just remember that black men are not a monolith, and it's okay to cry, you know, it's okay to be soft. It's okay to hold your mate's hand. It's okay to, you know, tell him you love him. And it's okay that this can sometimes be too much. And it's also okay to ask for help. You know, there's nothing worse than being silent and silently holding on to something that is eating you from the inside out. Trust me, I've done it. I've tried to do it and I failed, you know, because it's not how we're supposed to live, you know. just on a human level, we are communal, we are social creatures. We need each other, we need people. The best things that ever happen to any of us always involve other people, and sometimes the worst things that happen to us also needs to involve people. So for me, yeah, like just remember that black men, we're not all the same. We don't have to be the same. Just, let your vulnerability out, wear your heart out in the open, and, just ask for help, ask for support, and let people help you. Let people give you the support. I think that is also a really big thing as well. Feeling like you don't want people to help because you don't want to be a burden, or you don't want to show that you're somehow kind of weak, or you can't handle it. It's okay to not be able to handle it.
Honestly, like my heart is singing right now, because I just think these are messages that people really, I'm just saying this, but I just really think these are messages that people need to hear, that are not being said. And just watching you say it directly to camera is just, I'm like, wow, like someone out there is going to see that, and it's the echoes of what you've just said are just going to live on forever.
I hope so. I think it's really important to note as well that silence is deadly. The biggest killer of men in the UK under 55 is suicide. Let that sink in. The main thing that men in the UK are dying from who are under 55 is suicide. And we're not talking about this. How is this not a national news story? How are we not in crisis mode? So for me, yeah, I think, let go of whatever baggage, let go of whatever walls you have around you that you think are protecting you, because those walls are not protecting you. They're actually just leading to your downfall. They're actually just leading to you potentially doing something really, really bad. So yeah, ask for help, man. It's really that simple. Ask for help.
Thank you so much for listening to what we had to say about this theme. Did you know you can also find the longer version of the episode and the do's and don'ts episode in the same place on our website? Just head to www.secretsworthsharing.com/content, and you can find all the episodes linked by theme alongside the transcripts, written text versions of the do's and don'ts, and video versions of all of our content. See you there. Thank you for having a difficult conversation with serious joy. Bye.